Story Q2.
I was a rabbi in Charlottesville during the Unite the Right rally. And in the months after that event, Andy Hanauer, the One America Movement CEO, came down to Charlottesville and invited me to be part of a multi-faith group. At the time, I was already part of many different multi-faith groups, and so my initial answer was, I don't know if I have the time or the need to be part of something else. But he really pushed me on that, and he said, this is going to be a different kind of group. This is going to be a clergy group that has people that are more conservative than you, who don't share your political views, who are really think differently from you theologically. And something in me, I had a curiosity, maybe a need to figure out how to move forward from something horrific and traumatic. And something in me said, like, just give it a shot. Just give it a try and see what it's like, and see who you might meet. And here we are 4 or 5 years later, really good friends, working together, doing work in our country that we think is really, really important.
And I was pastoring a church in Charlottesville at about the same time, and I got that call from Andy. And like you, I took a little convincing but sort of the other side, I wasn't really convinced of the value of being in an interfaith clergy group, and I thought, what kind of compromises am I gonna have to make? Like, all this kind of stuff. And so he pressed me on that, and I think, like you, I was just hungry enough for things to be different, that I was willing to give something a shot that I think maybe even a year prior I wouldn't have. And so I came to the group sort of open to the possibilities. And like you said, here we are.
This is going to take action. It's going to take the action of human beings to make this country, our world, our society, the place that we want it to be. I think prayer has a lot of important purposes, but I don't think prayer alone is going to fix what's going on here.
Well, as a conservative Christian, I agree with you. I mean, I think, yeah. Like, I am praying. I hope the people who watch this are praying, and I also hope we're going to do more than that and actually get involved, even if it's something as simple as just building a relationship with somebody who's different than you. Like, that's a really meaningful step. So, pray and do something.
Pray and act.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think there's the language difference of just coming from different religious traditions. It's its own learning curve to just understand what we mean when we talk about X experience. But then I think a lot of our disagreements are also really heavily politicized, and politics loves its labels. And so this position is this and this position is that, and sort of how you talk about a particular political disagreement can feel like giving up ground or something like that.
What's inspiring is sometimes when we do have these conversations, we do find these little things, these little parts of the issue that we're like, oh, yeah, I agree with that. Or that's a question mark for me also. And so, yes, I haven't convinced you of anything, and you haven't convinced me of anything, but I do think we've opened up questions for one another about parts of the issue we may not have thought about, or parts of an issue that felt like, oh, I didn't need to think about this part of it until now, but now I do.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That all makes sense. I resonate so much with what you're saying, because I think so much of the stuff we disagree on is important. Like, it's not just stuff we can sideline, and so I want particular outcomes on this or that, and you want different outcomes, and that matters. And so it can, being able to check some of that and say, regardless of whether you ever have my view on this issue, you're still gonna be my friend. We don't have to be polarized. We can still disagree on the things that matter and also not be at war with each other. And it's actually possible to do those things at the same time. To have relationships and also still debate things that we care about. So that keeps me going.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna be, blatantly honest with ourselves, or let me speak from the eye, if I'm gonna be blatantly honest with myself, yes, I know that the goal of this work in the end isn't to convince people of my views. There are times that I wish we could find that perfect compromise. I'm still going to speak about the issues that I care about and either, poetically or quite literally share my views. But I'm much more careful about how I paint the picture of that opposing viewpoint or the people who would be promoting the opposing viewpoint now that I have faces and friendships.
Yeah. I don't remember how recent this was, but I remember working on a sermon on a New Testament passage that mentioned Jews, and I was being very thoughtful, like, what if Rachel was in the room when I preached this sermon? Like, I was envisioning you were in that room. Yeah, that's what Tuck says too. Yeah, and that affected my language, and so
that's a really
that
good, yeah,
tempers like my polemics, because I'm mindful that I'm talking about a person who like has a good heart and comes at this issue in good faith, even though we fiercely disagree on it. But that's different than, there's this dangerous person out there.
Right. It's like if we're saying we're at war.
Right.
Well, I'm not at war with you.
Right.
And I don't want to be.
Agreed.
Right? So, yeah, I think it is really, it has a huge impact on language and how we talk about things.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing that I want people to take away kind of goes back to something we were saying earlier, that this is actually possible. I'll tell people about our friendship sometimes, and I'll make a comment that, like, if you listen to sort of all of the big voices out there, it should seem like this shouldn't be possible. Like, we shouldn't be the friends that we are, and yet here we are. And don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think we're like exceptional people. Like, I don't think we're extraordinary. And so if we can do it, then it's possible for other people too. If you've been inspired by this conversation and want to learn more about how you can get involved, please visit oneamericamovement.org.